All right, let's dive into something that can be a real game changer for your students, the Cambridge Paper 2, the listening paper. Today, we're going to break down its structure, uncover some killer teaching strategies, and even look at a case study that totally flips student results. Let's get right into it. First things first, let's talk about why this matters so much. This one paper, it accounts for a massive 30% of a student's final grade. 30%. So yeah, the stakes are high. Getting this right isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely essential for their success. Now, on the surface, the format seems pretty straightforward, right? It's all multiple choice, super easy to mark. But here's the thing. The real challenge isn't marking the test, it's teaching for it. How do you actually get your students ready to understand authentic, fast-paced, and kind of tricky spoken English? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to piece together today. So, if we're going to master this thing, we have to understand it from the inside out. Let's start by cracking open the structure of the paper itself and take a look at the 5 different exercises your students are going to face. The exam is actually pretty clever in how it builds up. It starts off with some visual multiple choice questions, just gathering basic facts. But then it really ramps up, testing more complex skills like understanding specific details, different opinions, and even implied meaning. And that third exercise, that longer monologue, that's a real test of listening stamina. So it's not just about skill, it's about endurance too. Okay, this next point is, well, it's everything. Every single piece of audio is played. Twice. This isn't just some nice little feature. This is the absolute core of our teaching strategy. See, the first listen is for the general idea, the gist. The second listen is for the details. Teaching students how to use these 2 shots differently, that is a complete game changer. So, how do we actually build this into our teaching? Look, listening isn't some passive thing where you just hope for the best. It's an active skill, and it's a teachable skill. So right here, we're going to explore the strategies that really empower students to take control. The key is to give your students a system they can rely on. First, before the audio even begins, they predict. They're reading the questions, looking at the options, and thinking about what they might hear. Then, on that first listen, they're just aiming for a global understanding. What's the main idea here? Then, on the second listen, they go on a hunt for the specific details that confirm their answers and, just as importantly, rule out the wrong ones. Predict, just detail. It's simple, but man, is it powerful. And this brings us to the most advanced part of the exam, the bit that really separates students. A lot of the questions, especially in those later exercises, they're not about what someone says directly. They're testing implied meaning. So the big question is, how on earth do you teach someone to hear something that wasn't actually spoken out loud? Okay, let's use this example. Imagine a speaker says, "Well, I suppose the museum visit was educational, though I think I'd have preferred the cinema." Now, did they ever say I was disappointed? Nope, but you can feel it, can't you? You've got the hesitation, well, the reluctant I suppose, and then the direct comparison to the cinema. By teaching students to pick up on clues like tone of voice, word choice, and sentence structure, we can help them decode what's really being said. Now, having the world's best teaching strategy is fantastic, but it can all come crashing down if the exam day itself isn't run perfectly. So let's switch gears and talk about the administrative side, all those little details that make sure test day is smooth and fair for every single student. A good exam day starts way before the exam. A week before, you absolutely must test all your audio equipment in the actual room you'll be using. On the day itself, the room setup is key. No obstructions, keep noise to a minimum. And then there's that final critical 6-minute window where students transfer their answers. Every single step is vital. You can't skip any of them. And just a quick but super important reminder here. If you have students with approved access arrangements, things like needing separate listening equipment or some extra time, you've got to verify all that and prepare for it weeks in advance. The last thing you want is a surprise on exam day. Let's talk about that final hurdle, the answer sheet. It is truly heartbreaking, but students throw away easy marks here every single year. You want to know the most common mistakes? Misaligning the rows, so they put the answer for question 6 in the bubble for question 7. Ugh. Or using a pen instead of a pencil. These are such preventable errors, and a little bit of dedicated practice can completely wipe them out. Okay, so we know the exam, we've got the strategies, and we know how to run it like clockwork. But how do we put all of that together to build real results and, maybe more importantly, real student confidence? Let's take a look at a case study that did exactly that. So check this out. This is the result of a strategy put in place by the Raffles International Group. They took their students' average score from a 24 out of 40, which, is a decent pass, to a stunning 32 out of 40. That's not just a small bump, that's a leap into a whole new grade boundary. So what was their secret?
It wasn't about endless soul-crushing mock exams. Their secret was short, consistent practice. They started with just 5 minutes a day, working on simple tasks to build that foundational confidence. Then, they gradually started making things a bit more complex, a bit longer, mixing in different types of exercises and note-taking skills. It was this slow, methodical buildup that made all the difference.
And that really brings us to the core idea behind their success, and it's this: frequency beats duration. Seriously, 10 minutes of focused listening practice every single day is so much more effective than a 2-hour marathon session once every couple of weeks. It turns the skill into a habit, it lowers anxiety, and it just makes listening a natural, everyday part of learning. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question to think about. Forget about trying to change everything all at once. Thinking about that frequency beats duration idea. What's one small, manageable microtask, just a 5 or 10 minute thing that you could try with your students this week to start building that skill and that confidence?